Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in, listening, and watching us. We are the Real Shortbox. We are here with another amazing Shortbox Shorty. And today, Kevin, what are we talking about today?
We are going to discuss the streaming wars. All these different streaming apps have been popular over the last, but we're going to discuss the most popular ones to see which ones have the best content, which ones are going to last for the long haul, which ones will be around in the year 2100. We're going to really get deep, dive into this topic.
The War of the Streams, yes.
Well, first of all, I don't think any of them will be around in 2100. I think by then, everything's going to download automatically to our brains.
You know, there is an outer
it'll
limits.
be a different type of app.
There's an Outer Limits episode about that. And all of those apps and shit that directly download into your brain, it goes haywire, and everybody loses all their information. And like the one guy that they always called slow, because he had a mental like issue and he couldn't download stuff. He was the one that ended up at the end to like teach everybody how to read and write and telling them stories and everything. It was kind of crazy.
Chris, it's going to be called Sci apps. That's what's going to be called. Sci streaming apps.
All right, Leslie, we could have a whole like 2-hour conversation about this. Let's stay
Yeah,
on
we
topic.
really could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about like the streaming wars. We're talking about the original big streamer was Netflix. They're basically the blockbuster killer. They crushed Blockbuster into the ground. They offered Blockbuster the option to purchase them, to run with it. They were like, you want to take us over? And Blockbuster was like, oh no, we don't want to do that, no. And they went, okay, we're going to kill you now. And that's exactly what happened. Netflix offered at-home DVD rentals. So they would mail you up to 3, I think, a week of DVDs of your choice that you would select online. They would mail them to you, and then you put them in an envelope and mail them back. Great idea. Just brilliant, actually. Worked out so well that it basically annihilated Blockbuster. It destroyed Hollywood Video as well.
Didn't Blockbuster do that? Didn't they try to do that too? I don't know why.
It's too late.
Too late.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They were like, they saw the potential after. And at that point, it's too late. You can't enact and come up with something and it'd be better later than what it was already being done as. Normally, that's not the way it works. So Netflix just pulverized them. And then they started slowly adding streaming opportunity. And they were like, oh, we're going to stream a few shows here and there. And then slowly that got bigger and bigger until eventually they almost have pretty much phased out their DVD rental division. I think it still exists, but not many people use it, to be honest. They were going to split it off at one point, and there was such a ruckus over it that they didn't do it. But I don't know where they're at with it now. Netflix, as far as I know, is still the king. They've been bleeding subscribers like crazy, particularly because they raised prices and because they don't offer commercial content. So they can't negotiate with the price being lowered. They have to go with what works for them to make money. So they keep raising the prices, which is causing an issue for them right now, which is where subscribers such as the one behind Kevin can take the ball and run with it.
That's right. HBO Max.
Mm-hmm. Now, HBO Max, that's a particularly good one, actually, Kevin. I'm glad you have that one behind you. It's actually a really solid platform that had come out. I believe it came out on the heels of Disney Plus, but before that, there was HBO Go, if I recall, which was the original version.
Yeah.
And then they had DC Universe app as well that you could do, and they were like, no, let's just combine them and we'll create HBO Max. HBO Max offers a multitude of things. Go ahead and give them some of the shows and some of the opportunity that's with HBO Max.
I mean, good Lord, we have, we want to go a little bit old school here. Obviously, there's Game of Thrones, classic shows, Sopranos, The Wire. And of course, since you mentioned DC, all the DC shows are on there, from Teen Titans to, oh my gosh, what's the one that came out recently? Naomi. You know, you have all these different.
Patrol.
Doom Patrol. I mean, you have
Stargirl.
And what's cool? Stargirl. And what's Harlequin. And what's cool is you have a variety of mature content to G content. Mm-hmm. So you have, so everything's there. So you want something for grown-ups with blood and gore and breasts and whatnot, you can see that on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you can watch all of Euphoria.
Yeah, all of Euphoria. There's another show called Minx that's phenomenal about a men's nude magazine. and about the female lead that kind of created it.
Great documentaries.
Great documentaries. Amazing documentaries. They have a great HBO series about the Los Angeles Lakers called Winning Time. That is a little controversial within the Lakers community, but I think it's an excellent show. Excellent series. Highly recommend it.
I think.
Go ahead.
So sorry, I think HBO, just to build on what you're saying, they have a good business model, and because like what Kevin was saying, they took the DC and they took the HBO, but they also took Cinemax and put all those in. So HBO Max also has the Cinemax stuff. So if you really want to get, like, you can get all the Skinemax stuff too. So if you really want to get like the boobies and all that stuff, all the Skinemax stuff is there. So they have a good business model for of being able to mix all those together into one content in one area, not only having to pay one time.
Yeah. Keep in mind they are Warner Brothers, so there's a lot of Warner Brothers films, a lot of DC movies, a lot of just Warner Brothers films in general. Classics.
Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah, Turner Classic Movies are on there. Just a really a veritable cornucopia of options for people to choose from.
It's probably the best diverse streaming app, in my humble opinion, out there.
And Netflix has built themselves up because unquestionably, they knew, like, at the beginning, they were like, it's going to come down to original material because we can't hold on to these licenses forever. So they started to slowly build their own original material. And I thought that was very, very smart. And it's actually what's holding them together to be able to come up with Stranger Things has held on to their viewership and their subscriptions because, it's built into two separate, like they came out in end of May, beginning of June. And then they've got another one coming in July, the 2-part series. It's smart. It's very smart.
Coming out again in the fall.
What's that, Kevin?
And they also have Cobra Kai season 5 coming out in the fall.
Wow, you're doing a really good pantomime thing right now where your lips are completely closed and your eyes are very stoic. Oh, there you go. Oh, man, you were doing an excellent job. I was very amazed by your mimery.
I'm going to be curious, though, on how Netflix does once Cobra Kai and once Stranger Things leaves, because what else do they really got that's a draw? Everything's been ending.
The Witcher. Do they have The Witcher?
For like a season or two more, yes, sure. They just have to build upon the content they have and start again slowly.
What's the Korean show again? That's really popular. That came out last year. My sister.
Squid Game. Yeah, that's that.
Thank you.
Squid Games. Yeah.
Right.
They do got that. They do have that.
But it was really never intended to have any more than one season, if I recall. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that and how it works. So I'm always fascinated with Netflix and their ideas. We got, and then they got the small things, Russian Doll, the Dragon Prince, things like that are exclusive to them. Sex Education, all that stuff is solid material. Yeah. It's just not always, it's niche. That's the thing. Stranger Things, The Witcher, those were their most broad, wide things. So they just have to give chances for more smaller things again. And then try to, of course, procure content that is.
They also have these exclusive movies.
Absolutely, they've been getting a lot of big films.
They also have these exclusive movies with certain directors. Knives Out, director Ryan Johnson. It's like another one coming out. So they do have things going on.
There was a Adam Sandler movie that was released recently called Hustle. It's very good.
Yeah,
that was on Netflix.
And now we've got another big, what I would call a big gun, which is right behind me, and that's Paramount Plus. And they've come into the fray pretty slowly, I'm going to be honest with you. They basically dipped their toes in the water, and their platform was a little hinky at first. It was a little jittery, a little buggy, and people would complain about it. But now it's starting to get smoother. It's starting to work more. Paramount has a very diverse a catalog, including Nickelodeon. So Paramount is heavy on the kids' material. Yeah. It's also heavy on the adult material because of the Paramount, and also because of a little series called Star Trek. We've got all these new Star Trek series, 3 if I recall, coming and going, one of them being Picard, which is a big one because that gets in all the Star Trek Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager fans to watch this series and to be on the platform. Then they further that with none other than the hugest video game to ever be created, basically, and that is Halo.
Is it Halo?
It's not a good show, but yes, it was, yeah.
It drew a lot of people in.
Yeah, it did.
And then we have reality series stuff. We have Amazing Race. We have Survivor. That
They have
Real World, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Real
what
World,
I think
right?
is
Because that's from MTV.
what I think is the smartest move is the South Park thing, where they have South Park. It's the streaming home for South Park, but then they're paying all this money for South Park to make 9 made-for-TV movies for Paramount, and it's getting a ton of views because millions of people still watch South Park 30 years later. And so, yeah, I think that was a brilliant move doing that.
Yeah, so Paramount Plus is building. And Chris, you were talking about a couple other shows, Yellowstone, I think, or something?
Yeah, Yellowstone. I was fighting against it for so long, but I watched. There was Yellowstone, and they did like a spin-off, like prequel show called 1883. And I watched this 1883 show first, and it's heartbreaking and amazing. A really good show, very realistic. And I was like, so I watched it. I was like, oh, okay, this is really good. This is really good television. And they weren't afraid to just make it a one-off, a one-season one-off. Like a lot of new companies, they're like, well, we need to make the stuff that's going to be like people will come back to. But they weren't afraid to just like, oh, this is a one-season thing and that's it. But then, yeah, it's Yellowstone. It's a spin-off kind of Yellowstone, which is actually really good. You know, good old Kevin Costner, kind of like a modern Western type thing. It's a really good show. I'm shocked at how good the show is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have older content that they've had for years on their Comedy Central platform as well. So they're building. They're building slowly, but they're building, and they're showing their growth. But one company to me that's not showing enough growth, that I think is failing on almost every single level. I honestly, guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's Disney Plus.
I agree.
I think Disney Plus is losing the streaming wars, and I think that they were banking on being saved by two things: Marvel and Star Wars. And neither of those has happened. They've been successful, somewhat successful, but they're not cranking out enough material. And if they do, it creates an oversaturation, which creates boredom amongst the fans and probably a lower quality of series. So I think Disney Plus, what they need to look at is going back to their roots. We were talking about the Chippendales movie and how amazing that was in creative. And I think they need to look at their core material and what they can pull from there and build. I think if we got a Roger Rabbit series, I would not be upset with that. If we got Mickey Mouse in some type of a haunted house type scenario of a series, I would not be upset with that. Like, there's so much opportunity.
What about a Tron series?
Yes, thank you. A freaking Tron series would be amazing.
They did give us the Muppets in Haunted House, like the Muppets Haunted House. They did give us that.
Right, they did. Yes, you're right. Yeah. But I'm talking like we just need more variety from them, and we're not getting it in their platform.
Yeah.
Where you go in and you can look at the films that are available in the shows, you really have to dig for those shows. Like, it's not easy to find stuff on there. You really have to go to the search and you have to type it in direct in order to find it. You can't just go to action, adventure, comedy, or whatever. They don't have that type of setup properly. It just doesn't work for me. So it's a shame that Disney Plus, one of the biggest, like, next, like they were saying, this is the Netflix killer, is really just being killed by themselves, and that's sad. But there are other platforms out there, to name a few. Pluto's one of them. What's another one, guys?
Amazon Prime. Amazon
Prime's another big one. We got The Boys coming, which it's actually already here, season 3, and it's so far it's pretty phenomenal. I will say it's
they got the Lord of the Rings show coming out.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings coming out and stuff. So Amazon Prime is primed to really move. We just saw
Reacher.
I was just gonna say we just saw Reacher come out, and that was phenomenally well done. It did super for them, got them high marks, high views, high viewership for sure. So Amazon Prime is moving up just slower than all the others right now. They're taking their time, in other words, and they can afford it. Right?
They got plenty of money.
Exactly, Kevin. Yeah.
They're building that content. They're taking their time. They're getting these properties. And like, we're gonna have these properties. And they're going to, be the ones like they're spending the money to what Netflix kind of like failing at right now is they're building all this content than Netflix, but faster than Netflix, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Because it's a different way to make money. You know, Amazon Prime's not using their subscribers. They're using the idea of free shipping with purchases and free second day air as it's interesting. It's very clever and it's interesting. It's also putting Jeff Bezos in space. So there's that.
Yeah. We also have Hulu, but people keep forgetting that Hulu exists because they're not doing well. They have like one show that's keeping them on the map, and that's pretty much it.
And that show would be
Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Because I thought it was Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, but nobody knows that show exists. It's an amazing show, but no one knows it exists.
It actually got really huge
viewership. They need a huge
hit. It's coming out again in July. No, they did a really good job of promoting it, Kevin. It's huge. It's done extremely well. The only problem is that Hulu, Disney owns it now basically, and they use it as a dumping ground. So unfortunately, we're not getting a lot of the adult content that we would have gotten on Disney had Disney wanted to do the adult content, like the Touchstone type stuff. They could have put on Hulu, but they're not really doing that. Yeah, and they should be. So Hulu has some things. It's just not amazingly well done. So, but I will say their Halloween content's usually pretty spot on. When they have Halloween, I freaking love it. They do a really good job with that.
What about Crackle?
Crackle was Sony's answer to nothing. Sony really didn't answer. They just kind of fell on their face. So Crackle's really a non-start. They tried many, many years ago with Crackle. It did okay, but they just haven't been able to pivot and make it into anything worthwhile.
I don't know. The one that I like and a couple of people like, it's very niche, but there's BritBox where they take a lot of English shows from England. There's that one. It's not big, but it's definitely a niche.
Yeah, it's kind of like Shudder. It's very niche. Shudder's for horror. What BritBox is for British stuff. But yeah, I think we basically covered everything as far as like, not all the niche that's out there, of course. Don't get me wrong, but the big guns and where we're at, and who do you guys, before we end this, who do you guys think is going to win the battle of the streaming wars? Who do you think is going to come out victorious?
I'm going to say HBO Max and probably Amazon Prime, ultimately.
I'm actually, there's one that we missed, and it's the only one that's won an Academy Award, and that's Apple TV.
Apple TV.
I knew you were
going
to say that. Apple TV has a lot going for it right now, particularly because of Ted Lasso, to be honest. Let's be real there. It's done phenomenally well for them. So there is that, but I feel like they have a lot of growing to do, much like Paramount here. They still have a lot of growing.
Yeah, they do, but I think they're going to be the ones, I think they're going to be able to elevate. If they keep doing quality content, they do almost, I say a lot of most of their work is very, very quality.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that Apple's going to buy a major studio in the future, just like Amazon at some point. And that way, some of these other apps are going to get, they're going to get absorbed.
That makes sense.
So let's say Apple TV buys Paramount or Viacom or something in the future, then there you go. That'd be one way for them to grow their content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm with Kevin on this, though. I think HBO Max has got a lot of potential to take over in the streaming wars. And I think that they can ride on that with the fact that they've already known how to do quality DC shows and DC animation, where Disney's kind of like, they're not quite sure. So HBO always has the heads up on that. Plus, they're good at content and original programming and stuff. So HBO's been around a long time. Cable, like the original cable network.
They are.
HBO.
As a matter of fact, this year's actually the 50th anniversary of HBO. Believe it or not.
Oh, there we go. Wow, that's a long time. So I'm going to back Kevin's play on this. I think HBO is going to eventually take it, but I think all of these guys will still be a player somehow, some way. Anything else anybody wants to add before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. And if we don't see you out about anytime soon, if we're home on our couch, perhaps we'll see you
at the continuous streaming, always fun. In this case, I guess you could say live television, or no, sorry, not live television, but just streaming television. We'll see you out there.
Yeah, we'll see you in streaming land. Yeah.
Cable box. I don't know.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a good night or day or evening or afternoon, whatever. We don't care.
24 times.
Enjoy yourself. Yes. Enjoy yourself.